It's getting recorded, right? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we can start. I think. So the first question is fair candy swap. Alice and Bob have candy bars of different sizes, and AI is the size of ith bar of the candy that Alice is having, and BJ is the size of jth bar of candy that Bob has. Now, since they are friends, they would like to exchange one candy bar each so that after the exchange, they both have the same total amount of candy. We need the total amount of a candy the person has is the sum of the sizes of candy bars they have. Now, return an integer array answer where answer 0. First element is the size of candy bar Alice must exchange, and second element is the size of candy bar that Bob must exchange. If there are multiple answers, we need to return any one of them. And it is guaranteed that the answer will exist. So here we can see like A has candy bar of length 1, 1 and B has 2, 2. So if this A gives 1 to B and B gives 2 to A, then the both will become 3, 3. So A need to exchange the candy of height 1 and B need to exchange the candy of height 2. Here again, A has to exchange 1 and B will exchange 2. So both of them will become 4, 4. Will have equal number of candies. Coming to this, A will exchange 2 to this, B will become 3, and this 3 will go to A side, then both will be 3. And here A will have to exchange 5 to B, and B will exchange 4. So B will have 7, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 7. Both of them will have 7. And these are the constrained length of A is 10K. B's length again less than 10K. Elements will be, I think, 100K, and B's all the elements at max can be 100K. It is guaranteed that Alice and Bob have different total amounts of candy, and guaranteed that there exists an answer. Yeah. So any queries in the question? No.
Yes, Shashank. I have a question on example 3. Why can't we okay, definitely we need to exchange, or what is the constraint here? Like, if we exchange just like if B gives just 1, it will be equal to 3, right? Instead of giving 3 and then swapping like 1 back or 2 back.
You can have multiple answers, they have said.
Okay.
If there can be multiple answers here. So A will exchange 0 in that case, right? A won't exchange anything.
Yeah,
B will give
that's
1.
what. Yeah.
I don't think so. There is anything like empty. You have to exchange.
Yeah, definitely. They have to exchange one candy bar. It's not that only B will give to A.
Okay.
But since they are friends, they would like to exchange one candy bar so that after it exchange. Yeah, I think you have to exchange.
Yeah, you have to exchange if you see that. I mean, even though if they have the equal number of candies, so they have to exchange at least one pile.
Let's say both have 3, 3, then like A has 1, 2 and B has 2, and then in that case they don't need to exchange, right?
No, in that case, the answer will be either 1, 2 or 2, 1. Because they have to exchange anyhow.
Yeah, they have never said that you have an answer which will be invalid, because it says the answer exists. It is guaranteed an answer exists, right?
Yeah. If exists, so that means they will exchange.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
There's a constraint telling that they will have a different amount of candy.
I think voice is not clear. Is somebody? Yeah.
There's a constraint telling that they will have different amount of candies at the end.
Yeah, that's true. They're telling that initially they have different amount of candies, right? Yeah. Janice and Bob have different have candy bars of different sizes. Yeah. That's a catch.
No, they have the candy bar of different size, but it does not mean that they have a different number of candies.
Some total will be different in A and B then.
No, I mean some may be same, right? if they
No, I think that's given at the bottom that the sum is different.
Oh, yeah. Hmm. It is guaranteed that Alice and Bob have different total amounts of
okay,
candy.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Makes
that
sense.
it makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. There any approach in this?
What about keep on exchanging each and every size recursively and then find out which is the one which actually gives you a good balance?
And base condition is that whenever you have same amount of sum is same, right?
Yeah. So you just do a recursive way
Hmm.
and keep on changing each and every size of Bob and Alice.
Yeah.
And every time you get to the same sum, then return them. Immediately return it.
I think that should make sense.
Just a very brute force approach or something like that, I would say. Not a very optimized approach, sorry.
Another approach is to sum up all the candy.
Yeah,
and
sum up on the both sides.
Divide by 2 and see if we can get one
Yes.
side.
So
Reason behind dividing by 2?
so I solved this using the hash table.
Yes, you can share it. I think screen. I'll stop it.
Give me a minute, please.
Okay.
Let me open it. And then
So Leon, what is the reason for dividing it by 2?
Oh, because I think that both sides have to be equal, right?
Yeah.
So if we divide by 2 and
Equal.
try to find but I don't think that's the right one, because we need to find what index get exchanged, right? Or what value get exchanged.
Yeah.
yeah, so my approach was that let me share my screen and then I can discuss the approach.
Sure. Sure.
How can I share? Okay, share my screen.
Just click the share screen.
Yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, so somehow, okay. Are you guys able to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the intention was that, so as we have to make the equal sum, so what I did first, I actually calculated the individual sum.
Yeah.
And now I figured out that what will be the final equal sum. So what I did, I found get the individual sum, then sum that and divide it by 2. So that will be the individual sum after exchange.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say take the last example. So here the individual sum is that 8 and 6.
Okay.
Right. So and after exchange, we know that the total sum is 8 plus 6 is 14. And after exchange, individual sum should be 7 and 7.
Yeah.
Right. So what I did, so initially I picked the first I picked the Alice and put all the candies in the hash table for Alice only. Then calculated the sum and individual sum, and then I started with the Bob and picked the one, and what Santosh has mentioned, that I picked the first candy bar and try that whether I can exchange this one or not. So when I tried that, so I reduced that amount from the initial Bob amount. And then I figured out that, okay, now after giving that to Alice, so what left with the Bob? So 6 minus 2, that left with the Bob. And now we know that after exchange, a Bob must have 7. So how much actually Bob need to make it 7?
3.
So that is actually yeah. So that is 3, right? So now I looked into the hash table which I created for Alice. Whether Alice has a candy bar which has a 3 candy. If it does not, that means I cannot exchange this particular candy bar with Alice. Then I move to the next one and try with the same. Whether I can exchange 4. So what I did, I subtracted. I gave that to Alice. What left with Bob? 2.
Yeah.
And how much Bob needs to make it 7? So
5.
that is 7 minus 5. So I looked that and I found that okay, there is a 5. So I kept that okay. I exchanged 4, 5, and 4, and I put that in the result and return immediately because it mentioned that and there may be multiple answer and you have to return only one possible answer.
Yeah, that is good. But when you said you actually gave it to Alice from Bob, so when you give it to Alice, at that time also you add to the Alice collection and then validate it, or you
No,
just do a validation?
it's just a virtual. So I assume that I will give 4 to Alice, right? So I'm just looking for the from the Bob side. If I give 4 to Alice, then what left with Bob and how much Bob need to make it 7?
Oh, okay.
So if it
final
gives
sum, you have that, right? Okay.
Yes. And the catch here, what I did, you see the constraint. So the individual total number of candy bars 10,000, and one candy bar may have up to 100,000 candies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'll do I calculate the individual sum, and to get the final sum, if I do the sum, so that there may be overflow. So that's why I did this trick. Instead of actually summing and dividing it, I just actually to get that what will be the final sum, individual sum.
Makes sense.
Going back to your using the hash, have you seen a case that like you need to exchange multiple of them and then you find it doesn't work, so you have to back out and you?
Yeah, so here in this case, so when we will start that, we know that the first will not work, right?
Yeah, in this case, you exchange at most only one element and you see the result, right? I was thinking, if you need to exchange multiple of them.
No, we have to make only one exchange.
Oh, only one exchange?
At
Yes.
a time.
Okay.
Otherwise, when he was giving 2, yes, when he was needing 3, he could have taken 2 plus 1 both, but that is not allowed.
Yeah.
At
So
max one.
Go ahead, please.
So you do one exchange, see whether it validates a sum. So if you are getting a correct sum, then it is fine, or else continue with the next one.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that exchange is not a valid exchange if
Right.
we cannot make the equal sum.
Okay.
Okay, but one thing, when you divide it by 2, whenever you get a difference, right?
Yeah.
So you might get a remainder. So what do you do with that remainder?
No, why do you think that I'll get the remainder?
They are telling that the result will answer is there, so definitely it has to be
it
equal.
says that the answer exists.
Yeah.
But is it not that we might get anything which is odd?
But the answer will
Then
not exist.
if the difference will be odd, then definitely there will not be any answer. The answer is possible when total sum is even.
Even, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
One more question. So when you take the hash map, So 1 is repeating, right? Like there could be repeating numbers for the Alice. So
Yes.
are you going to
Yeah,
then
that's why I'm adding only the one entry.
okay.
Set also you could
So
have
you are
used.
using a hash set, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need to handle that. I mean, multi-sat to handle the duplicate.
Correct.
Because I just need to, because I don't need to return the index. I just need to return only one possible solution.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you're actually what you said about the odd thing is yeah, I understand it, but is there some mathematical proof somewhere, or maybe something which says, yeah, if you have to have a valid sum or
If
maybe
like
difference, it has
so if
Little-
a plus b is even, then
uh-huh.
a minus b should also be.
even.
Okay.
So that's it.
Or I think if he gets odd, he'll round it to the next nearest integer, which is
Yeah,
even.
but it is forced that a plus b would be even because the
Yeah,
solution exists.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Because you know why I'm asking, because this might be a question someone will ask, in an interview.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
also
yeah.
thought of just now.
Okay.
Or
No
we'll
problem.
take the floor or sill. No, doesn't like the
No,
nearest
it will always be even, so there's no point
Yeah.
taking for us. So it will always.
Yeah, if I mean, they have not mentioned that, then I mean, you'll have to think about. But if and in that case, they cannot, there will not be a possible, there will not be any answer if the total sum is odd.
Right. That is
Until unless they mention that you have to actually break the candy and return
0.5, 0.5.
it.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop the sharing to you, Sasan.
Yeah, so what PS said, same thing I've done here. I took the sum of both the arrays, created a hash set, and this is the fair size like equal sum, and corresponding to each exchange from A to B, I'm checking for it. Exactly what PS has said. For every candy, we'll first subtract that sum, how much is left in the B, plus the candy if you check it in B. If it is B is the Alice ones. If it is present, then you return this, else you won't.
Okay.
No.
So each is from Alice and the rest is from Bob.
Bob, huh? And I think order of n only. It will have a bit extra space this set.
Okay. But here in your case, in the Python case, I just an observation here.
Yeah.
You actually return the results in a for loop, right? But what happens if you don't find any results? If any,
No, but
the condition is not valid.
they are saying there will exist an.
Okay. No, but I'm just curious to know about Python because in either language, C++, at least you have to give some return value, right?
It will return none.
I think
Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
Language
That's auto return, I
strict,
think. Yeah, if it doesn't find anything, it will return none.
Okay.
Python is not a like compiled language.
Yeah, it's again scripting language.
So nothing would be checked at the compile time.
Okay.
It is actually not compiled at all. So whatever lines come, it simply executes.
Okay, let's proceed to next.
Now, what is the time complexity?
I think order of n for this sum, this order of n, and then again for this worst case would be order of n. So overall order of n it should be.
Okay.
But you are searching in set, so it will take order of n.
So constant search.
And that's a order of one, no, any element looking up into the set.
Yeah, you set.
Okay.
So at least the unordered set in C++, it is O of 1.
Yes.
In Python also. Dictionary
Python
that is. Yeah.
Okay. And the space complexity will be both, right? The same.
Same order of n. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
So fair size minus a sum can that be negative? Oh, plus each. Okay, I see. Okay, never mind.
I think maximum length of whatever A and B is. Let's say if this is order m elements, n elements, then whosoever is greater.
No, Leon was asking like if a sum is negative, so what will happen? Right, Leon?
No, yeah, if a sum is bigger than fair size, then that's going to be a negative.
Right, it can be, yeah.
Yeah.
But
It can be
then I
negative
see
for
that with plus each, then it become positive, I think.
Positive.
But it can still be a negative number. If it is not there in the set, then it will just throw away, move on to the next one.
Let's say sum is fair size is 16 and you have an element of but how can it have bigger element than
Oh, you are finding from the fair size. So yeah, that is fine. Yeah, you should not.
And because it plus each in B, so I think it guaranteed to be
But
positive,
will
right?
be twice, right? So yeah, maybe. Okay, I don't know how.
Oh,
Need to look
yeah.
for again. Okay.
Okay, let's switch to next. So this is it's a set of points are given in the xy plane. We need to determine the minimum area of rectangle formed from these points with sides parallel to x and y axis. If there isn't any rectangle, we need to return 0. So these are the points given. The area, minimum area is 4 and corresponding to them is 2. And all the points are distinct. No duplicates will have inside this. Yeah, and these are the ranges. So any approach in this? I mean, question is clear only.
We draw an example why the output is 4.
Yeah, sure. We can. Let's say we have 1 1. If this is, then this will be 1 comma 3. This should be, I think, 3 comma 1.
1 comma 3, right?
Oh, sorry.
Money.
Oh no, right. Sorry.
It's correct. I think
it is correct.
X-axis we are shifting. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
Top will be, I think, 3 comma 3. 3 comma 3 and your diagonal.
Yeah, they're right now.
Yeah, 2 comma 2. Yeah, so you can take any 4 possible. It's like you have to calculate here the difference is 2, right? This y-axis.
Yeah.
And your this x-axis again, this difference is 2.
But it asks for the minimum.
So you have to calculate all the possible areas here and update the minimum.
The area. What area? I cannot see the area because if I look at the middle point, then I can form the area there, right? It become a small rectangle. So would that be 1 times 1?
How will you make the rectangle with that?
So
there is no 2 1.
If you have some more coordinates, then you can make, but this is not a valid one, right? It's not coming into any rectangle.
I see. Okay.
So you need to find a valid rectangle first and then get its area and then keep on looking for the smallest area. So in this example, we only have one rectangle, right?
Yeah, the bigger one, the
Right.
boundary rectangle. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So what would be the approach in this?
The approach will be like find all these rectangles every time and just get its area.
Yeah.
And keep on looking for the minimum area. So
Yeah.
go for each and every, the way you were drawing it, right? So
Yeah.
take one coordinate and see on the x side whether it has something similar, because they have to be parallel on x and y, right? That is what
Exactly.
it says. So keep the x constant and find if you have some variations in the y. Based on that, you find okay, you have a what you say base, and then you try for an height, okay? And at that time you keep the y coordinate same, and then you find if you find the exact same on the other side, and then you will get a rectangle coordinates. So that is the only what you say challenging part, to get all the rectangle coordinates, and creating it the area is very straightforward.
So in your case, what you are saying, let's say you'll select these 2 points and you'll try to get 2 points either upward or downward, wherever, depending on this first, because the next axis will be parallel to x, right?
Right. So on
that
the
would,
x-axis only, suppose if it's parallel, okay, so I can find the closest point to it first, right? So similarly, I can go on the y-axis, see
Yeah.
if I find similar points on the y-axis also,
Yeah.
which are corresponding to that.
Hmm.
So that can be an optimum way of doing it, but it's very hard to do that, I would say. So
Yeah, it will
anyway,
be
I
like,
would check for each and every point.
so when you'll check for each and every point, that will be order of n square, right? And again, you'll calculate all the area and check it for the minimum for that order of n. So it will sum up to order of n cube, right?
When you are calculating area, it is just going to be adding and subtracting the coordinate values, right?
So from checking the minimum, you'll have to go, I mean,
you will just store it in a value saying minimum value. Every time you update that, if you find something which is lesser than that, again you will update it.
so what should be the time complexity, what you are saying?
I would say it would be n square.
And n square for selecting those points, like you first point you took out of these n points, nc2 you will select, right? Any 2 points you can select at any time, and depending on that, the other 2 points you'll find.
Yeah, so when I select x side, then I might store the y side, y points in an, some other data structure, and then access from there, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's similar to that only, but I mean, what you are saying, just a small improvement, like you need to check care of the points which you have looked already. You shouldn't take that point again.
Because I'm moving forward, so I won't actually come back to those points again, right?
Yeah, that.
Is that not right? Will it not work?
It will work, but I mean, I'm saying just to optimize it, like whatever you're saying, it will work, but
optimize, maybe I will do some sort of sorting first. Then in that case, I will sort based on my first value. Yeah.
Okay.
And then keep on looking for those things first. Yeah, but I don't think so. It will be n square. It might be more. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. And one clue you can have, if you take any 2 diagonal points, let's say if I give you this point and this point, the other 2 points you can easily find, right?
Yeah.
No, that makes sense, right? Because the other point for this will lie in this, because the y coordinate will be same for them. Any 2 diagonal points if you take, the other 2 anti-diagonals you can find.
Yep.
So just I'm taking advantage of that when updating the area, you can.
So you find the diagonal points first, and then you look for the other diagonal points.
Anti-diagonals, yeah. Anti-diagonal will be these points, the permutation of these two. See, 1 1 and this 3 3. So your these 2 points will be a combination of only these two. I mean your arrangement of these two. You won't have any points here which won't be present in these 2 points. Like 3 3 1 1 is there. So any combination of 1 3 or 3 1 you will have.
What would be the time to search for the anti-diagonal point? Because it seems like you have to search for X.
No, I won't search it.
For Y.
See, they have given this. No, it will be parallel to X and Y axis, right? When I got this point and I have this point, so X will be this and Y will be this, whatever Y it is having.
No, but like you can pick 1 1 and 2 2, right? Then you don't see that.
I think he will store it somewhere.
I'll store it. That's in this hash set. I'll store it in that.
And then you might just
and whatever line you. So in that case, I mean your time complexity is n square, right?
N square it will be.
N square and the space is n.
But yeah, n square it will be.
I think, I mean, that makes sense based on that whatever the last condition given here, that the sides are parallel with X and Y. So that's a fair assumption, and I think your approach
that is the advantage we are taking from here.
Yes.
This.
Yeah.
Because let's say if you take the 1 1 and 2 1, so the combination should be either 1 2 or 2 1, and you don't have 1 2 and 2 1 here.
Right.
So that's like. And first of all, you just check if the length of the points itself is less than 4, only 4 points are given. There is no point of going further. We'll return 0 in that case.
So actually finding 2 points also is going to be n square always, right?
NC2, it will be n square only.
Yeah. So, and you have to look for each and every point. So you have to traverse all of the points in that input, because you never know, the answer might be very minimum at the end also. Right, so you have to go to the end. So I don't think so you can do more optimization other than this, other than using some lookup table for looking for the other points.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you cannot bring your time complexity lesser than n square.
Yeah, it won't go little, but I think in your case it was order of n cube, because you will also search for 2 points. So any 2 points will select, that will be out of n points, NC2, that is order of n square. And again, for getting the minimum area, you'll have to scan throughout the, I mean, whenever you take 4 points, you'll calculate area, update with the minimum. So worst case, it could be order of n, right? In your
yeah, that way. But I'm just talking about the diagonal one, what you're talking about. So that will be at least n square. And that is the best thing what you can get.
So what about if we actually use the sorted map and first actually fill that map? So that will take n log n, right? And then enumerate that map and do in a single loop, just use your approach.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but that will be slightly more complex.
Based on the first value, you'll sort it, right?
Yeah, and again, you have to find the second point. For just getting 2 points, it's going to be n square again.
Okay, yeah.
So even if you go either way.
Right.
Can we set based on both the points, like if we can write our own comparators like that? X, if both X are equal to n, based on Y, lesser Y value has to be first one, like that.
That's a good one. So in your sort, you write a comparator. Okay, you can make a comparator which can find these points.
But the comparator will do the same thing, right?
Yeah, not sure how to implement that, but yeah.
Maybe I mean, to get the minimum length, so you will have to check with all the coordinates unless you have sorted one. But even though it's sorted, you will have to actually enumerate all this.
So he's saying that you write a comparator in such a way that you have the closest point, or maybe the points which are candidates of a rectangle closer to each other, So you sort in that way. So you don't have to go in the next time, like you do sort of n log n, and in the next parts, it will be just O of n to find out the rectangles.
We can also use binary search.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that might be a thing to try, but it will be slightly difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, when I started thinking about, so I start thinking about let's have a two map, two set, and the key based on the one will be x-axis and another will be the y-axis. And the value for x-axis, the value will be, say, like for example, in first map, for one there will be two entry, and the entry will be a list for what are the y coordinate for this particular x-axis.
Okay, you mean to say make buckets, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So for one there will be entry 1, 3, and for 3 there will be entry again 1 and 3. And the same thing for the y-axis. And then I was thinking to actually start with the x-axis, and let's say start from this point 1, 1. And we know that we can go when I have to find the next coordinate. So either I have to go up or down from there, or left or right. So we can do a clockwise. So either clockwise or anti-clockwise, which means that find the first y coordinate for this, the potential coordinate for this rectangle. So we go either up or down if exist, and then from there, and I also actually rule out that if any either x or y coordinate exists and it has only one point, so that's not a valid point.
Right,
like for
right.
2, 2, so we cannot make a rectangle with that.
Yeah, I think that is also possible than doing it in O of n traversal, right? If you make everything in a buckets.
Yeah, I mean, I was not, able to think O of n here, because again, you will have to actually verify all the coordinates.
Yeah, you'll have to, but actually if you sort it by the buckets, maybe it will be O of 2n, right? One on the x-axis and one on the y-axis. Okay, but as you said, like for each and every bucket, you can find if there are at least more than one coordinate, it means it's a valid one. So just look for a similar, similar coordinate. Like if it is one on the x side, then you look for the second, which is the closest to it. So that might be the edge on the x-axis. Similarly, look for the y-axis. If they are, then you can take that as the minimum one. And then you can traverse the x-axis O of n times and do the same for O of y, because you have both of them in the set, right? Oh, sorry, map.
Can PS share your
No,
solution?
he's just, it's a hypothetical thing. He's not saying.
Just thinking, not implemented. I was just thinking that whether it's possible or not, even though we are not sure whether that will give the answer or we can achieve anything here.
Yeah.
We're just actually brainstorming here.
Yeah, because this might be something which can be done in the interview. They might ask you if you can do something better than that. So these things might be something to talk about there. That is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So
I'll give it a try. If I'll find, I'll share in the channel.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Sure.
Yeah.
So can you actually go through this, Shashank?
Sure. So for every x and y coordinates in the points, I'll corresponding their x to y2, I'll put it. I'll check whether it is present in the hash set. Initially, let's say 1, 1 we are taking. So this is not in the hash set. So this won't be in the hash set x2 y2. So next time when you encounter, what will happen? You will check combination of these 2 points, x2 y1 and x1 y2. If both are in the hash set, then just take the absolute difference of the height. This is the height and this is the width, and just check that area shouldn't be 0, because if you have 0, that will be the minimum one, right? If there is because they are saying if there is not any rectangle, you have to return 0. So that will get confused with the meaning. So we are checking it shouldn't be 0. and if it is less than the mean area, just what is it? Update it and then put it into the hash set. The points that we are looking for.
But where is the place where you look for the diagonal points?
So I believe that the second for loop is assuming that that's a diagonal point, x2, y2.
Okay.
So that's why it's actually changing and finding the other side coordinate. X2, y1, and then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we just write it, walk through an example and write it down, because initially the hash set is empty, right? Then we add 1, 1 to the hash set, and we iterate to the next.
Sure. Let's say this is set. So I'll go through 1, 1. I'll put it.
It's not there, so you put in the set.
1, 1 I put, right?
Okay.
So next time it will go for the next point, 1, 3. And it for x1, y1 in the points corresponding to this, if you have x2, y2 in the hash set.
X2, y2, 1, 1.
This one, which is already present in your hash set, then what you'll do, you'll just take the difference of 1, 1, 1, that is 0, and 3 minus 1, that is 2. So 2 into 0 is 0. And if your area is,
no, even you will not enter here because x2, y1 does not exist here.
Yeah, they don't exist there. Yeah.
There's only 2 points. You cannot make a rectangle.
Yeah, I mean the if condition will terminate immediately.
Yep.
Yeah. So
you add the 1, 3. Now you go ahead.
Here. Now next 3, 1, right?
Yeah, 3, 1. So now you will check. You will enumerate your hash set. So the first entry you will get 1, 1. And based on 3, 1, so you are looking x2. So that is x2 is 1, and y1 will be your 3. So you are looking 1, 1, right? So that 1, 1 exists, and then second entry you are looking x1. So x1 is 3, and y2 is 1, 3, 1. So that does not exist. 3, 1.
In the set.
So no, actually, 3, 1, he is himself, right? Now in this case.
No.
Now is a 3, 1 because he already put a 1, 3.
Look for 3, 3.
So he should look for 3, 3. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 3, 3 will not be there. So we'll put 3, 1 in this set.
Yeah.
Now then you.
X2, y2 will
yeah. So why I was saying that 3, 1, because in the first entry the x2, y2 is 1, 1 only. So now we do have 3, 1 and 1, 1. So we are these are our diagonal coordinates. So we are looking another coordinate. Let me actually do it one. So one is that 3, 1, and one is 1, 1. So we take 3, 3, 1. Yeah, so we have to check that x1, y2 will be 3, 1, and that does not exist, so it will terminate immediately.
I think we can put more conditions on line 11, right? Because 1, 1 and 3, 1, are they really a diagonal? Because they are sharing one coordinate, which is, so basically they are on the x-axis, so they don't even qualify for a diagonal, that combination.
Yeah, that's no. Actually, I think 1, 1 should not be there in the set, right? Because you are just iterating for x1, y1, and going for x2, y2.
I think this should not be any issue. If we actually draw all the when we do the second loop, and if we draw all the combination what we are checking in the set, so that will actually visualize. We can easily visualize that. Shashank, if you can write all that what you are checking.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, say somebody was saying.
Yeah, so I was saying that I think this won't work when we are checking for example, the 1, 1 and 1, 3 have already been inserted in hash set. Then after while we are at 3 1, okay, so we will be searching for I'm sorry, while we will be at 1 3, then we will be searching for 1 1 and 1 3 both.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not inside. Okay, I got it. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I got it now.
Yeah, I can. Okay.
Also, the second for loop is for whatever the points are in the hash set, right?
That is for that.
Okay,
Just this is for checking whether points shouldn't be duplicates.
Yeah. So when you come to the last one, that is a 3 3, last second, then you should be able to see all the coordinates, right?
Yes.
All the four, yeah.
Yeah. Then only you can form an area. Okay. I'm sorry about that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Only your last two will be invalid, and you don't have to take into consideration that point.
That point, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, then we can proceed to next.
Yep.
Yeah.
This patching. Yeah. Patching array. Sorted positive integer array of nums, and an integer n is given. And add or patch elements to the array such that any number in range 1 to n inclusive can be found by the sum of some elements in the array, and we need to return the minimum number of patches. So these nums is given and n equal to 6 is given. So what you have to do, you have to generate a sum from 1 to 6 by using this number, and if you are not able to generate, try to insert something so that you can get a sum between 1 to 6. So because the combination of 1 and 3, what will be 1 3 or 1 3. So at max 4 you can generate, but you have to generate up to a sum of 6, 1 to 6. So for that they are adding 2 to the nums. When they add 2 to the nums, 3 to 5 plus 1 6. So up to 6 you can generate a sum. So just by adding one number, these are the possible combinations they can have. 3 to 5 1 6. You can get 6. You can get a sum of 5. You can get a sum of 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's why your output is 1. One patch is enough. And here again, you have to using these numbers, you need to generate a sum from 1 to 20, all the possible sums like 1, 2, 3 up to 20. But if you see at max, you can generate here only 15, 10 plus, 16, I think you can generate. But the moment you add 2 to it, what will happen? 5 to 7, 1, 2, 1, 3, 18 only, this 2. When you add this 2 to this, 18 you can generate. But when you add 4 to this, so 10 for 14 plus 5, 19 plus 1, 20. You can generate 20. So 2 patches are required for doing this. And here you don't need any patches because already you have a sum of 5. I mean, you can generate sum of 4, sum of 3, 2, 1. 1 to 5, all the sums you can generate from here. Yeah. Any queries in the question? This one?
No, the one you were explaining, the example 2, you were saying like if you add 2, then you are just adding all the numbers together first, like 10 plus 5 and 1, that is 16, and then you add 18. Then you say you are getting all the numbers till 18. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, you can't get 20.
Oh, you can't get 20. Okay, you are trying to see if you can get the largest number. And so how you can get that?
All the possible sum you have to get from 1 to 20. Like 17 you can get. 5 plus 2, 7, 10 plus 7, 17. All the sums ranging from 1 to 20 you have to generate from this array. Like let's say 90, you could, you say?
No, but you were actually trying to just add that number with the sum of all the nums element, right? And then you are saying 18. So is that the way you actually just do your approach? That is what you are trying to say?
I think what he's trying to say that if we don't include the 2, then we won't be able to generate 18, correct?
18 you won't be able to generate. Okay. I was checking initially for the extreme case because see here when I added 2, so I was just checking for the last sum I could generate or not. But all the possible sums you have to generate. Here, let's say if you don't add this 2, if you add just 4 here, you can generate 20, but you can't generate 18 over here, right? Let's say if you add just 4 to this array, you can never generate 18 out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to generate all the sums. That is from
Exactly,
1
1
to
to
20.
20.
So 1
Yeah.
should come, 2 should come,
Exactly.
3 should come, 4. All the individual numbers should be, we should be able to generate them. Yeah,
Yes.
which
Yeah,
can
yeah,
be
yeah.
done if you add both 2 and 4. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And here, I mean, everything you can generate, I think. 1, 3, 3 to 5, and 2 plus 2, 4. All the possible sums you can generate.
In
Yeah,
the
any
question,
pardon?
in the question it says add or patch. Does it mean like we can change a number too, or like we can only add a new number?
I think you can add elements to the array. You want to change the existing number.
No,
What does
no,
it mean
I don't
by
think so.
patch?
We don't have to change the numbers. You just have to add.
Yeah, add only. Add
That's
elements to
what
the
this
array.
problem statement says. Yeah.
That one created the confidence.
This patch element itself means patch.
Confusion that created the confusion.
Yeah, it's just add elements. Add or patch means the same. Yeah.
Same thing. Okay.
It just says add. Yeah.
Change from where did he get?
No, he was just asking. He's just asking.
Okay.
But see, Shashank, the way you are saying you take 2 and then you form a set for all the numbers, and then you find if there are some missing, and then you go for the 4, because you don't want to add another patch or another number unnecessarily. It should not be redundant. You have to find the minimum one.
Yeah.
Right? So the way you start is like you start from 1. Okay. But 1 is there in the second example, so you don't add that.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now you have 1, 5, 10. So you can make it to 6 and then maybe something other more than that. But then you add 2 to it. So when you add 2, again you form the whole set, right? So which will include 1, 2, 3, whatever everything they are. And whichever is missing, then you'll again start looking into that. So because 3 will already be generated when you add 2. So you won't include 3. Then you will go for 4. So are you going to go each and every number and look for what is in the set and create the complete set? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I have done like that only. Like
because it looks very simple that way, right?
Yeah, definitely. It looks like every sum, at every step I'll check the sum.
The sum as well as all the elements, right?
Initially, I was thinking that I have to only generate a maximum this sum, but gradually, when I read 2-3 times, they're telling that you need to generate all the sums from 1 to.
Yeah, and they are not saying any constraints also, like it's only for, there are no constraints given. So
Yeah, so just to clarify on the question, we cannot use the same element twice, right? It is all, but the same element can the same element repeat twice in the array itself?
Yes, it is on
yeah,
example
2,
3.
I see. Yeah, makes sense. But we can only pick the element the number of times it occurs in the array, right?
Pardon?
I cannot pick 1 2 times to make 2 or 1 3 times to make some number.
No,
that way you can form all the numbers with 1 only, right? Yeah.
Then that will be a maximum combination.
Then let's say 6 you have to generate, then 2 times 6 you will pick, right?
Yeah.
2 times 3 you will pick 3 to generate. Yeah, no, that way you shouldn't do.
And one more that we cannot minus, right? We cannot like 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. It's
no, it's add.
Just
add elements. Yeah.
I think add there.
Okay. So you add a number every time and just look for all the combinations, and then you're done.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So you always start from the lowest side.
I'll start from lowest. Let's say initially I'll add 1. Like let's start with some example. I can start from here. Let's see. Let's take this example only. Initially, let's say the sum I'm missing is 1. Okay, I'll start with 1. Then 1 is there in the number, so we don't need to add any number to it, right? We can generate n equal to 1. So sum of 1 you can generate from here, from single element. Let's say when 2 comes into picture, what you can do, when you add 2 to this array, So you can generate a sum from 1 to 3 open, right? All the sums you can generate from 1 to 3, except 3. 3 you can't generate here. You can generate a sum of 1, you can generate a sum of 2.
You can generate 3, right? 1 plus 2.
Sorry, 4 you can't generate.
You can't do generate 4, yeah.
4 you can't generate. Now, in order to generate 4, you have to see whether if the element is 4, then what you can say, 4 you can get a sum. So you'll have in that case 1, 2, 4. If this is in your array, what you can generate? You can generate a sum from 1 to
1, 2, 3.
8 open.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 8. Yeah.
Can
Now
I
let's
stop you there and ask a clarifying question? On line number 32, when we saw that 4 is not present, like we cannot create 4. Why did we add 4 into this array instead of adding 3?
No, I think in the array 4 was there.
No, he is asking why. Okay, but in that case also, you know, because 1 plus 2 will make it 3. So I would actually not add 3 because you can already generate 3 based on that.
3. Yeah, some 3 you can generate already from the array.
I think before adding to the array, first you have to check that whether we can form that number or not.
Right.
Not. Now,
but then
8
we
is
want to minimize the number of patches as well, right? So I'm not sure whether this gives us enough data that adding 3 is not right and adding 4 is right for future numbers as well.
No, I'll update the miss. No, this I'll be updating each and every time. Let's say initially my miss was 1. Okay. Now I'll check for, I added what? 2 I added. Now I'll check whether 3 can I generate from the existing number. If I can generate 3, then I don't need to add. Then I'll increase the miss. I was adding 4. This will be 4, 2, 6, 1, 7. By adding 4, I can generate up to a sum of 8, right?
Yeah.
No, but you can't generate a sum of 8 here, right? You are missing 8 here. You can't generate from 1 to 4. By adding 1 to 4, you can't generate a sum of 8. So one possibility, next number in your array is what? 13. But if you add 13 to it, 13 is too big to add to them, right? If you add 13, so it's better to, whenever you find that your miss is less than your next number, it's better to add the miss to it, because miss will be the least number to be added. When you have elements from in the array, when you have seen only 3 elements, you can't generate 8 out of it. And you might add, you could have added 13 also. But the problem is that by adding 13, you will increase the range. You have to add the minimum. It's better to add the minimum number to get that 8. I mean, to get
true.
8 from the array. Yeah. So I'm adding this 8. Now, when you add 8, your range will go from 1 to 16, right? I mean, you can generate 1, 2, 3, all these things up to 15 you can generate, but you can never generate 16.
So there, how are you verifying that just by adding 8, you are able to create all the numbers after 8 as well? Till 16, like till the total number of, till the maximum total possible with the current set.
There is I think induction hypothesis is there. Like if you have number from 1 to 2k, when you add, let's say when you are adding a number k to it, let's say you are adding a number k to it, then you will be able to generate a sum from 1 to 2k plus k. This it's a mathematical induction. Yeah.
So for example, you can write down, right? Let's say you have just write down. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? We not include 8, right? So now if you add 8 to it, that means now you can generate 8 plus 1 is equal 9, 8 plus 2, 8 plus 3, and then you know, finally 8 plus 7, right? Then that's going to be 15.
Yeah.
So you expand this, like almost double the size.
Yeah.
Yep. It makes sense now.
I'm expanding every time. Now let's say 16. You can't generate 16 from the numbers up to after adding, I mean, at this stage, your array was having what? 1, 2, 4, 8, right? So you can't get a sum of 16. Now, one possibility is that either you can add 16 directly to this array to get a sum of 16. But if you see 13 plus this 3, 16, you can, it's better to add the array number 13 to it rather than adding your miss to the array. Because by adding 13 would be the minimum, and by adding the 13 to this number, you can get a sum of 16. So I won't be adding 16 over here. So I'll be adding 13 over here. Now, when you add 13 to this, so your earlier your range was from 1 to 16. Now, when you add 13 to it, then you'll can generate a sum to a maximum of 28, right? 8,
Why
4,
didn't we add 9 to it?
9. 9 you can already get no from 8 or 9. I told you this induction
Oh,
is
yes,
there.
yeah. That's true. That's true. Got it. I understand.
So you can, yeah, somebody was asking something.
But I can get the 13 also. 8 plus 5.
But 16 you can't get, no.
I think 13 is already there in the input.
In the array, in the input.
So anyway, you don't have any choice. You have to take that number. So only 8 is the miss over here.
No, that up to 8 is clear to me, but adding the 13, so
see, when you add 8 to the system,
somebody just asked that why 9, why not 9? You said that we can form 9 with the existing values. The same thing is happening with 13. We can get the 13 with adding the existing values. So why actually we decided we will go with 13, not 9? Because with 9 we can make 16 as also, right?
With 9, 8, 17.
Yeah.
So 9 for 13.
Yeah. So why not 9? Why 13?
See, 13 is,
or why not 11?
1 again. Then
13 is already a number in the array also, right?
Oh,
the input has 13 and you don't want to patch more numbers.
That's good. Okay. I thought that, I mean, we are adding that in.
So actually, so when he adds 8, he is already going till 16. So he doesn't want to go for lower numbers. Therefore, he's going anyway. 13 has to be added. So he's taking 13 now.
Actually, I got confused that 13 does not exist in the input, and we are adding that to the array. Okay, got it. Sorry about that.
Now, when you add 13 to it, you can get a sum of 1 to 29. And now with these numbers, you can at max you can have a sum of 57, right? So your range will go from 1 to 58. Now, but you can't generate 58 out of this. Now let's check what the next number in the array. Your next number in the array is 43. Since this 43 is greater than 29, so it's better to add the least number what we are having. We can add 29 to this, which will generate a sum of 50. We can add 40 to the 40. Your array number is less than the missing number. So it's better to take the array number. Least number, always we are trying to, whichever is least among the miss and the next number of the array, that I'm trying to append to the array. If you find that the next number in the array is larger than your miss, then we'll add miss to that.
So, but anyway, the array inputs have to be taken at any cost, right?
That has to be, that's also one thing, that array input. And when you add 43 to this, you won't be able to get a sum of 100. So to get a sum greater than that, I have to add this miss of 58. See, the other reason is that why I'm adding them only whenever you find miss is less than your next number, you have to generate sum from 1 to 100 here. Okay, it was let's say in this question it was like you have to generate a sum from 1 to 100. So
yes, what so what is your target? I did not understand that. So n is supposed to be 101. That is what you are saying in this one, the example
n should be up. 100. It should be 100. Yeah.
Okay. And now if you go, the inputs are 1, 2, 4, 30,
43.
43.
Yeah.
So after 43 you don't have, but you are taking selecting 58. So I didn't understand that.
Because you can't, you add these numbers, you will never get a sum of 100 from here.
Okay, but if you don't get, but that doesn't mean that you have to add 58 to get 100.
58, because I'm tracking the sum from behind. No. Up to this extent, what is the maximum? Let's say 58 if I don't add. What will be the sum here? 2137, 7, 15, 28, 28, 20, 48, 49, sorry, 20, 2137, 15, 28, 28, 20, 48, 48, 9 is 57, 57 and this
43.
It will cross 100, right?
Yeah, it will cross 100.
But you can't get this number. 58 you can't generate out of this.
You should be able to generate all the previous numbers to 100 too, right?
Exactly. See,
so
at
not
every
just
step,
about exceeding. Yeah.
Exceeding. See, at every step I'm checking that whether I'll be able to generate 1 to 16 or not. Here you can see I can generate a sum from 1 to 15, right?
Oh, so Shashank, with 43, what are the total numbers you can generate? From 1 till what can you generate with 43?
What is the total sum? Total sum of this? We did just now. No,
100. No.
It was crossing, I think, 100.
Yeah, it was crossing 100. It was 28 plus 29, 8 plus 16, 17.
It's 100, I think.
57 plus 43 is 100, is it?
Yeah, 100. But let's say if I ask you, can you generate 58 from here by taking these numbers? Because our goal is that I have to generate all the sum from 1 to 100, right?
Right.
Can you generate 58 from here? Let's see, 2137,
okay,
15. You can't generate. So see what this means is taking care. No, at every
we can generate 58, right?
You can generate how?
43 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1. Wouldn't it be?
4 plus this is 7. 15 is 20.
58 minus 43. You get 15, right? Yeah, you can generate 53. Yeah, see, like what you can do is 43. 43 plus 1, 2, 4 plus 8. 43 plus 15 will be 58.
Which all numbers are taking? 1 plus
1 plus 2 plus 4 is 7 plus 8 will be 15 and then plus 43.
Or we can have the 43 plus 13 plus 3.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, see, I would say you take a, yeah, that's fine. I think this should be enough, I would say.
Yeah,
Can you actually mute those people? Yeah, okay.
No, but sorry, 58 was here in this area. I was telling, sorry, by mistake that we were there.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So before 29, okay, and then you took 43 and then came to 100. So your n is 100 now.
You can generate. Exactly. Sorry, I got confused this because of some up and So miss is what taking care of. No, till this extent, are you able to generate some, like here what you are missing? 29. That means up to 28. If I give you this array, you can generate all the numbers from 1 to 28. The moment I ask you that 29 can you generate, you won't be able to generate 29 in this case. So I'll compare miss with the next array number. If I find that next array number is greater than my miss, so it's better to add my miss to the array.
So if the miss is lesser than the number element in the array, then you add that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like let's take one more, like smaller one. Let's take.
So because somewhere someone was talking about in the discussions, like whenever you want to make a change, you just compare this problem like making change of some sense, right? Suppose if you want to make a change of like 3 and you have 5 cents, so you will always go for the lesser one, like you go for a 1 cent first, right? Then maybe 2 cents.
2 cents.
Something like that. So it should be lesser than whatever is there in the array number.
And second thing, what I think for taking the lesser is, let's say if I ask you to generate a sum from 1 to 100, even if you generate 120, that is also acceptable, right? I mean, if this is your range, then definitely you can get a sum of 100 here. And if somebody generates 101, that is also correct. But it's better to get, this will be more optimal, like 101, right? Because just crossing the
Yeah,
bound,
crossing
right?
the threshold. Yeah. Okay.
So my at every time I'll compare whether I'm able to generate that much range or not, and I'll check with the next number whether this is what my miss will be the smallest sum from 0 to n that we might be missing. Let's say if we already know that we can build all the sums from 0 to miss, then we have a number. We'll check if the array number is less than your miss in the given array. We can add it to that smaller sums to build all the possible sums from 0 to miss. If we can't, then we'll add the number to the array. And it's best to add to the miss itself to maximize the reach. So this was the example I took that.
Okay, makes sense. But actually, when you are doing this algorithm or implementing it, you are not calculating the whole set, because the hypothesis itself proves that you will always get it.
Yeah, that's an induction theorem, I think.
Okay.
I told, like, if you have 1 to k, no. If this is your, to this, if you add k to it, then you will definitely get a sum from 1 to 2k.
Okay.
Yeah, 2k plus 1, it seems like this one.
So if somebody is not aware about that during the interview, so how do you think that, what other approach?
Then I think in that case, I will do a complete, create a set always.
Previous sum you have to take care of, I think.
And always keep on adding it. That is what I would do. Then the interviewer might say, okay, there might be something different. Then I said, this is the way I do it.
Like, let's say 1, 5,
if you look at the examples, right? So even I was struggling with this induction, but if I'm able to have a set where with all the combinations, I can generate the numbers from 1 to 10, for example, then if I add another element called 10 to it, then I have a way to generate all the numbers from 1 to 10 with existing setup. Then with a new number called 10, I can just use the previous combinations and have 10 plus 1, 10 plus 2, 10 plus 3, and so on and so forth. I think Leon explained the same thing. So it's not necessarily to know this induction. It's just that maybe we are just building from the previously computed knowledge.
Right.
So you're adding 10 to all the numbers of the set.
Yes, so all the possibilities which we have created before. So with 1 to 10, if I have this set ready, then I know that I can generate all the numbers from 1 to 10. Then all I'm doing is adding 10 to everything so that I can now have numbers 11, 12, 13 as well, up to 20. So maybe we can think like that as well, just to reuse what we already have computed.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Can you give one example, like, confusing, like what you said once more? Let's say we have already generated this. Okay.
Yeah. So this gives me till 6, right?
7. Sorry, 6.
So I have 1, 1, 2, just 2. So put all the possible values here. So how do I create 1 here? Just by adding 1. How do I create 2? That is just by using 2. Then if I want to create 3, then maybe 3 or 1, 2. Then
Exactly,
4 is 1, 3. 5 is 3, 2. And 6 is 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So I have this knowledge built already with set 1, 2, 3. Now I cannot create anything further than this. Up to 6 is something which I already have. So now all I need to do is I just add 6 to the existing set. And then so on line number 40, if I patch the set with 6, that gives me the capability to reuse the existing ones. So now I have the existing capability of 1 to 6, plus I can add more to it and create existing plus 6 for everything which was available before.
So you can generate a sum of 7, 8, 9, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
And 6 alone.
Yeah, and I had 1 to 6 anyway, without the 6. So with 1, 2, 3, 6, I can have 6 plus 6, that is 12. Total 1 to 12.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
So we can keep on adding in the set and then say, okay, this is the way it is. Yeah, that makes sense. I would do that in that case.
This is intuitive. Like,
Yeah, that theorem or the induction threw me off. I was also
Yeah.
confused that how will I come up with that in the interview, but I think it's just a dynamic programming, I guess. You already have computed this much, now you just add the missing piece and build on that.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Hmm.
To actually.
Yeah, we can see code is this like
Yeah, the implementation is so simple.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've taken initially miss as 1, and this will go till your n, whatever the maximum sum I want. I'm checking that I'm not crossing the array boundary, and this is the condition where I was saying if your next number is less than your miss, then you add will anyway in both the cases I'll increase the miss because I have to check that range. This is we are increasing, and when you add miss to the array, that means you have increased patch. I mean, you are adding 1 element, so your patch increases by 1, and at last patch is returned.
So anyway, even if you remember this solution and if you get this question in an interview, if you just implement it, still you will
Yeah.
have to explain it to the interviewer because he's not going to agree that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
This
is one
induction.
explanation, yeah.
Okay. I need.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, that the question was not actually. I mean, the intent was not to remember that induction and come up with that solution.
Yeah, exactly. Some intuitive. What the. Oh.
The solution is the same.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, the solution
Yeah.
is the same.
Yeah.
What you did said exactly it is that.
I believe that even though you said that, I mean, the induction one, so I have a strong feeling that the interviewer will say that, okay, don't follow that and use some other approach to figure it out that.
Then
Surely.
that would this would be pretty intuitive. This one.
Yeah.
So do you have the code to share for the one which was like DP one? That you add the 6 to the set.
I think his name. What's his name? I don't. He might be having it.
I'm sorry, I don't have the code actually. I came up with this approach while we were talking about this. So, but I think the approach which you have here is the same thing which I just explained. It's just that the only difference is that I did not explain the part of using the minimum. So for example, here, when we were adding 6, right? When 6 was missing, if I had 5 in my set, I would have added 5 instead of adding 6. That would have given me a coverage of 6 plus 5, 11.
11.
So I think what the code which we are seeing right now is the exact same. It's just a different way of explaining.
But you are adding 2 6s, right? I mean, you are adding this. Even if we can form up to 6, you are again still adding 6.
Yes, because I want to continue forming more, right? So what is the optimal way for me to not break the sequence and still add more?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if the target is like 13 or so, you surely have to add 6 first and then go ahead.
In my case, I'm just checking all the possible sums we should take care of.
I think in whatever code Sasank you have that we will have to here you have that assumption based on the induction, but the approach what that guy I'm sorry I don't remember the name or see the name, but Bhomik, yeah.
Bhomik, yeah.
So we will have to actually add the functionality to actually verify that what sum we can what number we can generate so far.
So yeah, what?
Otherwise, how will? Yeah.
Every time whenever I'm updating this miss, that means I'm sure that till that extent I can generate the sum, right?
No, your assumption is based on that induction formula, right?
Yeah.
So you are not verifying that. But with Bhomik approach, we will have to verify what number we can generate until or come up with some sort of a formula which can tell us upfront that okay, you can now produce from this range to this range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that also satisfies my own implementation, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe the problem statements. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in
Right.
Bhaumik's case, are we going to keep the set like we are going to keep on increasing the set, right? I mean, right now here we just see that 1 and 6 has been added to the same, but it will be a like after 1, 2, 3 we are going to add 1, 6 and all. Keep on maintaining the
Yeah,
sets.
actually, yeah, we might need two sets. In some cases, like if we have 3 and 4 in the example 1, 5, 10, you add 2, and then if you try to add 3, you see that 3 is redundant because for some reason. So you'll have to do more comparison in that case. So you'll have to have a set which is temporary, like 3, whether you have to consider it or not. That should be a temporary another set. And then when you come to 4, you find an optimal solution, then you can remove the 3 set.
Not
So
really.
that is
So with the existing code which we are seeing, I think it was just my way of explaining, but the code is doing the very same thing which I was explaining in a different way. So the code is actually really using the induction theorem. But if you look at it, right now, if I have 1, 2, 3 in my set, so I'll start with 1 as Santosh, I think you were the one showing, right? So Shashank, sorry. So I'll start with 1 as my first element. I know that, okay, now I can create up to 1, and then I want to go further. So I'll look at the array, which the input array, I'll look at what I want to create next. And since I don't want to break the sequence, I will make sure that I can create 2 as well. So it's the same thing which Shashank has done. It's just that I'm explaining it in a different way. And whenever I'm looking at the input array and the patch number to add, I'm also saying that we should look at the minimum of that. The reason why we look at minimum is that we don't want to break the sequence. And if we continue looking at the minimum, we'll not have to create a lot of sets as we are seeing on line number 42 and 43. We'll not have to continue verifying things.
So Bhaumik, what I'm missing here that, okay, so finding the what number we have to add, so the logic will be same what Shashank explained here, but the assumption what Shashank is actually assuming that, okay, he's not actually calculating that whether we really can generate the number up to this point or not. So that part we will have.
Of induction is taking care.
Yeah, so that is because induction is taking care, but the problem what we are trying to solve here, that we don't care about induction. We have to find or devise a way so that we can figure it out that whether we can really generate number up to this point or not.
Yes. So if you start building from 0, if you don't have anything in your set and you start building from that, then you can have that confirmation that you will be able to generate those numbers. You don't really have to verify them by generating all combinations. So if I have 1, 2, 4 for that is the main example, right? So I will start with 1, and I know that with 1 1 is my base case or the start case. With 1 I can only generate up to 1. So now I'm looking for generating 2 and onwards. So to generate 2 and onwards, I need to add 2 to the set. If I add 3 to the set, that means that I'll be missing generating 2 forever.
No problem. So okay, you add 2 now. So what will
now
happen next?
with adding 2, what is my confirmation that I was able to generate up to 1 and now I added 2. That means with the help of new addition of 2, I can generate up to 2 plus 1 because I had the capability of generating up to 1. So now with this knowledge, I have the new knowledge which says that I can have the capability of generating up to 3.
After so indirectly you're using induction only there. Like
Yeah, he's explaining it different way. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So now with the new capability of generating up to 3, I want to see if I can go further and I want to create more from 4. So now I look at the array.
But here in this case, why don't you take 3 then? Because you are saying that you can generate it.
Yes, because I was already able to generate 3, right? So I don't really have to. I have the capability of generating up to 1, 2, and 3.
So whenever you are able to generate up to that level, you are not going to take that. You're just going to move ahead.
Yeah, that way I'm doubling down all the time, right? If I have the capability of generating up to 1, 2, and 3, and if I add 4 to the set, I am doubling my capacity of generating with the previous knowledge and the new addition.
How you confirm that? How do you confirm? Like, on what basis you are telling that you would be able to generate to that? You will double that.
So if I
that
have
again
the
was-
capability of generating all the numbers up to 1, up to 3, right? And then I add a new number called 4. That means I can add the 4 to all the previous numbers and say that since I was able to generate 1, 2, and 3, I can now generate 1 plus 4, 2 plus 4, and 3 plus 4, and 4 itself.
Yeah. This is what you are proving the induction. What you are explaining the induction.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's what I'm doing. I'm not changing the code. The code which you
Yeah.
have written works. It's just that I'm trying to explain it in a different way so that it's more intuitive.
Yep.
Yeah, I
How do
think
we
now.
explain to
Yeah,
introvert? That is what he's trying to say. Yeah.
I think I got it. That I mean, even though somebody does not know about the induction, but they will have to actually come up that kind of approach or thinking what you just explained for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the easy way would be like the way it is implemented, you know, you go for a mesh and then you look for the size and all that stuff. So easy way would be like this, you know, what Bhumik is saying. You add 1 if it is not there. If it is there, you don't leave it. But then you add the next one, you see what is the maximum range you can go. Because initially, the numbers which are consecutive will remain consecutive. Like 1 and 2 will go to 3. And then you go for the next one. So you can just go in an iterative way, right? Just start from 1 to whatever the number, what is n. Each and every number you consider instead of just jumping in this while loop, whatever we are actually implementing here. Right? The induction theorem takes care of it, that is fine. But whenever you say that you are adding that number, that time only you increment the patch. But in this case, you will have to go O of n time.
Actually, we want to minimize the number of patches as well, right? So that is why we need to look at the array. Now consider the case in which we are able to generate numbers up to 8. Okay, maybe for example, I added 4 to my set and now I'm able to generate numbers up to 8. And my target is only 10. So do I add anything more, or there is already a 5 in the set? Then why shouldn't I add 5 in the set?
Yeah, you have to take the ones which are in the array, but if they are not, like in the example second, when you have 1, 5, and 10, so you still have to take 2 and 4 both, right? So whatever is lesser than 5, you still have to take. So till you reach 5, you have to take all the numbers. Only 3 you cannot take, right? Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bhumik.
No, actually, I agree with that. That makes sense.
So I would go the easy way, just to go from 1 to whatever the numbers are and try to add them. Once I reach that, I will just exit. Maybe it would not be a very efficient way of implementing, but at least I could show some way of implementing it there.
I'm not sure how will you achieve the minimum number of patches with that. Maybe give it a try and see how that spans out.
Yeah, sure. I'll try that, but yeah, that again comes to my mind whether it will be really
the
optimum way of doing it. Yeah,
patches is the main thing. I think that is what is forcing us to look at the array and do that minimizing thing.
Yeah,
minimum number of transactions.
So maybe just know this induction theorem is very important, and the implementation also. But you have to explain it the way we are explaining here.
Yeah, to the shouldn't be like we have learned that theorem, so based on that.
No problem. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
Okay. Stop
the recording.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone. This was really useful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you, Bhumik. Thank you, Shashank.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Piers. Yeah, Martino.
Bye.
Hey guys, I do have another quick chat with. Could you please stop recording and then
just
talk?
wait.
Just a